Hi, I'm Linda Mao, and welcome to Art This Week. On this week's episode, we visit the Blanton Museum of Art, and our interviewer, Francesca Hall, speaks with curator Ray Williams about the exhibition Epic Tales from Ancient India, paintings from the San Diego Museum of Art. Now for Art This Week.
Hi, I'm here with Ray Williams at the Blanton Museum of Art to talk about their new exhibition, Epic Tales from Ancient India, paintings from the San Diego Museum of Art. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
My pleasure.
So as stated in the exhibition title, these works are from San Diego, specifically from the Edward Binney third collection of Indian paintings. Can you tell us a little bit about how this exhibition came together?
Well, San Diego Museum of Art has this fantastic collection of about 1,400 miniature paintings, so-called miniature paintings because of the really delicacy and precision of the technique. I can't really know if this is true or not, but the legend is that some of the brushes are made with the hair, single hair from the tail of a squirrel. So anyway, it's probably hyperbole, but it's really speaking to the delicacy of these things. So San Diego has been very generous about sharing these paintings through exhibitions over the years. I think I first came across an exhibition of this material about 20 years ago. The Blanton was very excited when we saw that San Diego was circulating a show focused on the great narratives from Indian culture, and we were able to get on the national tour.
Oh, that's great. So these paintings are paired with Indian and Persian texts. And can you tell us a little bit about the original format and how they complement each other?
Yes, well, and that relates to, the scale of these paintings, because originally they were bound into manuscripts, and so that means they were meant to be experienced in sort of as individuals reading, or pairs maybe. They were produced in a sort of workshop system, so we don't necessarily know the individual artists who created the images. We do know that they were collaborative efforts commissioned usually at courts to go with classic texts. And the idea behind this exhibition is organizing the paintings in a narrative sequence. So it's not putting together images that were originally in the same particular manuscript, but bringing images that are related through the same narrative, and it's organized sequentially. So you can sort of visitors to the exhibition can begin to sort of experience how the story would have played out visually.
Like you were saying, a lot of different exhibitions organize themselves chronologically or regionally, but it's very interesting how this is kind of focused on storytelling. So I was hoping that we could get some, in your opinion, some of the highlights of the stories in this exhibition.
Oh, well, it's full of stories, and these are really great stories, and they're stories that for people who are familiar with Indian culture, they would know them. And then, in Austin, the Indian community has been very excited about seeing this show, but also people who don't know anything about Indian culture have an opportunity to learn great stories. So there are many images of Krishna, and from the Bhagavata Purana, which has stories of Lord Vishnu, but in different avatars. And in this exhibition in particular, the bulk of the images from the Bhagavata Purana have to do with Krishna.
Okay.
The birth of Krishna, Krishna destroying various demons and doing good things for the people, Krishna and Radha, and his amazing allure. So there's great stories about Krishna. And then the last part of the exhibition has the sort of longest sequence of paintings, and they all have to do with Ramayana, the story of Rama and his rescue of his kidnapped wife Sita from the demon king Ravana, who had 10 heads.
Oh, wow. So you mentioned that there are a lot of images of Krishna in the show. Can you tell us a little bit about this work?
Oh, sure. So Krishna, as an avatar of Vishnu, is shown in paintings with blue skin. So you don't have any trouble recognizing Krishna here in this scene. It's got a great story to it. And I love the way the artist really shows this pastoral landscape, because Krishna grew up in a sort of cow herding region, and it was, agricultural and simple village life. And in this story, it's a story about when Krishna was a boy, and his job was to go out with the other boys in the village to take the calves out to graze. The other piece of background information you should know is that Brahma, the four-headed god, one of the main gods, had been hearing about this kid, Krishna, and everybody adored this kid, and he said there were even rumors that he was an avatar of Vishnu. So Brahma said, I'm going to test that out, because I can't believe a kid could be so adored.
Right.
So that's backstory. So Krishna and his friends are out herding the calves, and they're by the river Yamuna, and they're probably playing and swimming and picnicking, and the calves wander off.
Oh, no.
So it's almost time to go home, and the boys look around and say, oh, the calves are gone. And Krishna said, don't worry, fellas, just keep playing. I'll go find the calves. Well, Brahma had taken all the calves and put them in a cave. You can see that's this very sort of weird landscape element, but it's a cave surrounded by rocks. So Brahma had herded the calves into the cave, and then while Krishna was looking for them, he cast a sleeping spell on all of the boys, put them in the cave, and sealed it up.
Oh my goodness.
So Krishna's wandering around there alone. It's time to go home, and he thought, I can't go home empty-handed. The mothers will be heartbroken. The farmers will be angry. So he multiplied himself in the form of cows and boys. He made a double for each missing calf and each missing boy, and then they all go home at the end of the day. Nobody in the village noticed the difference. Oh, no. If anything, the mothers hugged their boys a little more tightly, and the farmers fed the calves a little bit more, because there was that little bit of Krishna in there. So Brahma comes back a year later to see how things worked out after his little trick. And he's astonished to see that everything in the village is going on very happily. Krishna says, I need to teach him that he shouldn't mess around with me. And so every time Brahma would look at one of the boys, he would get a little flash of Vishnu. Every time he would look at one of the calves, a little manifestation of Vishnu would pop up. And so Brahma is here bowing down to Vishnu.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And, I say Vishnu because it's Krishna and Vishnu at the same time. The way the artist is showing it, he doesn't look like a little boy. He looks more like Vishnu.
Right.
Here in the painting, we see Brahma. He's acknowledging Vishnu's power. He's trying to restore order. So he lets the boys and the calves, the original ones that have been sleeping for a year, out of the cave. And the doubles obviously disappear because they're not needed anymore.
Yeah,
but this is just one of those great stories about how Vishnu is all-powerful.
So do you mind speaking on how Indian painters organize their composition within a work?
Oh, sure. I mean, this is a great example of some of the techniques that Indian artists use to sort of push the narrative forward. And let's think about the way it's organized. The sort of lower realm is kind of the earthly realm. So you see King Dasaratha and his queens here talking with sages. That's actually not the first moment of the story, but you can see how the artist is using architecture to organize the story. So you've got the court on earth here, and a beautiful garden, and then up above, these are the gods, and then at the very top, there's clouds and other heavenly beings, celestial beings up there. This is an early 19th century painting from North India, and the title is The Gods Hatch a Plan. It's really the first image in the Ramayana series, in which the gods are trying to come up with a plan to address the demon king Ravana, who is just running amok. And for some reason, Brahma, the four-headed god that we saw in the other story, had given Ravana a boon such that he could not be conquered by either a god or a beast. So they have to figure out, okay, he's got too much power and we can't do anything about it as gods. What's our plan? Again, the architecture serves to frame different moments in the story and to tell us who's important. So with this sort of central arc and even this little precise umbrella form over this figure, we see that Vishnu is the star of this plan.
Right.
He's centrally located under the umbrella and also larger than the other figures. Okay. So we see this sort of hierarchy that's expressed through scale and placement of the figures. But we also see how figures are repeated in this tradition. So each of the architectural frames shows a different moment. Here we see the four-headed god Brahma and Vishnu together. They've come to visit Shiva. Okay. Shiva is the one with the animal skin and the trident. So they're talking with Shiva, just getting his advice. Here the characters are sort of introduced with Vishnu and Brahma and Lakshmi and others. And then here's Brahma again. He's telling them what the plan is. These are hermits and spiritual seekers, wise people from Earth. And Brahma is appearing to them and saying, okay, I think we've got a plan to address the demon problem. And you can tell King Dasaratha that finally, his dream of having sons will be realized. Give the queens this special porridge, and they'll become pregnant, and Dasaratha will have sons. And of course, one of the sons is going to conquer Ravana. Because Ravana, in his pride, he asked not to be conquered by gods or animals. He didn't say anything about people because he wasn't worried about people. Rama is another avatar, another instance in which Vishnu makes a divine descent. And in this case, his divine descent is to take the form of a human being, Rama, and his whole destiny and duty and reason for being born is to restore cosmic order and get those demons under control. So that's what the whole story grows out of, this moment of strategizing and problem solving. And I just think this painter does a brilliant job at sort of identifying the key players, giving us that sense of, a trajectory that goes from heaven to earth and sets up the rest of the sequence.
So in addition to the works from San Diego, this exhibition also has works from the Kimball and the Cleveland Museum of Art. So how do those works fit into the exhibition?
Well, I was so excited that we were able to negotiate those loans because I really thought the overall exhibition design would benefit from having some three-dimensional works. They also are much earlier than the paintings, so the paintings are from the 16th to the 19th centuries. The Kimball Vishnu is from the 14th century, and the Cleveland Hanuman is from about the year 1000. Oh, wow. So you really get a sense of how long-standing this art-making tradition is. So there also add a sort of, I would say, religious grounding for the manuscript paintings that you're seeing. So, there are paintings that show Krishna conquering demons and such, but to really see a processional bronze that was created and used in ritual to put people in touch with Vishnu, the divine presence that consents to come into the bronze and enliven it. That's just a very important aspect of Hindu ritual, and I feel like the paintings really benefit from being grounded with this religious meaning. So when we look at the processional bronzes, the museum culture, of course, really cares about how fantastic these early artists could do the lost wax bronze casting process. But in its ritual context, naked Vishnu would only be seen by priests, because in the ritual, the figure would be, Vishnu would be clothed. Beautiful fabrics, jewelry, flowers. It would be like really quite an elaborate system of adornment before the bronze was taken out of the temple into the streets for the procession. So that's just something that's kind of important to remember when we're looking at the beautiful bronzes in a museum context, and think when it's enlivened, when Vishnu is there for the people, he's also adorned for the procession.
Definitely, and I think the three-dimensionality of the statues, that definitely makes it kind of a richer experience. And not only that, this is such a unique show in that it's kind of all-inclusive with not only works on the wall, but you have performances and music that's inspired from Indian culture. Can you tell us a little bit about that aspect of the show?
Yes, I really wanted to create a multi-sensory environment. And so there's one of the texts that we have a section on is the Ragamala, which is a philosophical text about the aesthetics of music. And so there are images related to different activities and moments that relate to a time of day or a season, and also a musical mode of expression. So we've got that music section, which it just seems like it wouldn't be complete if we weren't hearing something.
Right.
So we've got the visual expression from the text, and then we've found ragas that we can have sort of filling the exhibition space that relate to the paintings on display. There's also a performance tent, and we have a wonderful artist in residence, Aruna Karod, who is has 10 years of experience as a Bharatanatyam dancer.
Oh, wow.
And so 3 days a week for 3 hours, she performs classical Indian dance that is grounded in these narratives, as well as telling some of the stories. And those performances have been very popular and well attended.
Well, that's a great idea, and this is a great show. Thank you so much for speaking with us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We want to thank Ray for speaking with us. For more information on the exhibition, go to blantonmuseum.org. That's it for Art This Week. Thanks for watching.
I still got your Polaroid. The thought of you I can't avoid. Sitting